Hello, everybody. Welcome to our event. Let's talk about the future. This is our summer talk. We're doing it a little bit differently than normally. We usually have a longer one. Today is going to be 1 hour of action-packed discussions with our great speakers today. Today, we're going to be talking about how drones will change our life. In the past, we have gone into a little bit more detail into technology, into the difficulties of flying drones and unmanned aircraft, and gone into eVTOL and this entirely exciting new industry of urban air mobility. A little bit more focus on passengers in the past. Today, we are going to take the passenger right out of the equation and talk only about drones and the different applications that we are going to see and what we're all going to see in our lifetime. So I am extremely excited to be here. And I'm looking so much forward to talking to all of our great guests today. We're doing this event at Lufthansa Systems. It's the 5th one in the series. And the reason that we are so interested in being a part of this industry is because it aligns so well with all of our core business areas that we are looking after in the classic aviation industry. We are very involved and very invested in being a part of this journey. And we have all of our guests here to talk to us today about how to get there and the differences between this new exciting industry and the classic one. But what we'd like to bring to the table is how to do flight operations, the ground operations part, which is going to be a big part of the future picture as well, how to do network planning with regards to all of these vehicles flying around and managing all of these assets in the air, revenue management, finance, predictive maintenance, and all of these things. We would like to welcome you, and I will start with you. We have today Tim Lear, who's joining us from Zipline and head of new markets. And I think that you just joined, but we're super excited to have you here with us today. So welcome and thank you for being here. We have Erik Wirsing, also from Frankfurt, just like us. So welcome, Erik. Erik is the VP of Global Innovation at DB Schenker and looking after drones, unmanned aircraft, and the entire drone initiatives. A lot of business with Wingcopter and a lot of strategic business and overlaps between DB Schenker and this new industry. So looking forward to talking to you, Erik, about the vision that Schenker has for this market. We have Andreas Perotti, who is joining us from vacation in Croatia. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule with your family and ripping your way from the book that you were reading at the beach and the kite surfing or whatever you were doing. Andreas is the Chief Marketing Officer of EHang for Europe and going to talk to us about all of the different applications aside from passenger transport that EHang has been doing in the Chinese market and other areas. So looking very much forward to talking to you as well. So thanks for being here. We have Bill Wimberley, who is joining us from Wingcopter, based just down the road in Darmstadt, and Bill is joining us from the US this morning. So thank you so much for being here, looking after business development and strategic partnerships with large corporations. So bringing a lot of experience and a lot of on the ground experience with a lot of proof of concepts and different projects that are already flying around different regions worldwide. And then last but not least, we have my colleague, Sauter, and Michel is the Senior Product Owner of Aeronautical Data Solutions at our company, Lufthansa Systems, looking after the part of our flight planning software which delivers all of the data to classic aviation, but also general aviation and to unmanned aviation and drone as well. So coming in from the data perspective, which I think is going to complement the discussion and bring it in a slightly different direction, but also talking really about the potential of what we're going to be able to achieve when all of this clicks into place. So thank you for being here. I'm going to give you one little brief housekeeping element today, and that is the video will be online in a few days' time on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on our website, so check it out. Like, comment, etc., please. And the chat function will be should be already open now. It looks like a little chat function with a question mark on it. That's the Q&A. So to you, the audience, welcome, and don't be shy. Ask all of these guys questions. They're here for you, and let's get started. I'm going to turn over to Kim, and the floor is yours. A little introduction.
Good start. I'm Kim from Zipline, the world's first national scale autonomous delivery system, and we're showing you a video of a day in the life at one of our distribution centres. So every day, our zips, or drones as we call them, deliver medicines, vaccines, and critical medical supplies. What we're looking at is a closer look in the day in one of our distribution sites in Ghana. So on July 14th, less than a month ago, we completed 123 flights in the day, delivering over 900 medical products with up to 18 drones in the air at any given time. So this is just watching one of the many days that is happening out there with the distribution centres to give you a sense of how real this national scale system is. Currently, we're operating in 3 countries, launching in another 3 countries, and we have over 1 million products delivered with 60,000 kilometres flown on an average per day. I'm excited to be here and talk to you about not just drone delivery, but instant logistics overall. And that is looking at the impact of what does it mean to really transform your system. And one of the stats that we give a lot, which I think is really impactful, is looking at after we'd been in Rwanda for 1.5 years, our ability was not just about drone delivery. We looked at transforming typical medical waste. So we took it from a 28% average down to just 0.6% in less than 1.5 years. So thinking of the potentially millions of dollars a year not wasted and their budget going further, and the trust in the medical system delivering. Great to be here, and I think that's my minute up, so I'll hand it over to the other guys.
Thanks, Kim. Eric, can I pass the floor over to you?
Absolutely. Many thanks for passing over. So my name is Erik. I'm Erik Wirsing, head of Global Innovation DB Schenker, as Erin already said. And of course, we at DB Schenker, as a logistic company, we really want to integrate drones, and we are talking about heavy lifted cargo drones when it really comes to shipment transportation into our supply chain. So really going to the next step, the next dimension for our customers, and really integrate it for the upcoming demands of urban delivery, sustainability, and really urban possibilities to really integrate it. And I think there are several use cases out there where we really believe this technology makes sense. And there are plenty of interesting cases where we want to really use that. The demands from our customers are really coming, so we are more the user of these technologies and really want to operate them, fly them. And of course, it's about integration in IT systems, in the methodologies that we are using. And when we are using this topic, we always talk about the middle mile concept. So these are the most interesting and promising use cases at the moment, because flying one time somewhere as a marketing case is always great and fun. But we really want to integrate it sustainable and really for future operations. So therefore, the demands are there, the technology is getting better, legal setups are coming. So therefore, it's now only the question where, how, and when. So therefore, happy to joining here at the panel, being, let's say, the logistic partner here and the potential user of all the hardware solutions that are available.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to now turn over to Andreas.
Well, hello, everybody, and it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having us. We are considering ourselves as EHang as an urban air mobility platform company, and we have been founded in 2014 in the great southern Chinese Bay Area, close to Hong Kong, in a city called Guangzhou. And we are coming more from the software side. We started our company by developing a software ecosystem for autonomous flights. And throughout the years, we attached different hardware solutions we developed together with partners or individually, which are touching a lot of different use cases, going from small and large scale logistics to passenger transport, but also to smart city solutions or aerial media entertainment. In 2016, we have been the first company presenting a fully autonomous passenger drone at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And in 2019, we IPO'd as the first UAM company in December at NASDAQ. And we are truly believe that the potential of drone technologies for mobility use cases will change not just the mobility industry, but a lot of areas which are related to it. At the end of the day, our innovation is not lying in the way how we transport goods or people from A to B. We have it since decades, and it's called a helicopter. We think that the innovation is making the functional principle of these solutions available and affordable for everybody. So it's great to be here and discuss about this astonishing and exciting topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned availability and accessibility and price as well, and that this is going to be a main driver, and we will get into that for sure later. I'm going to hand over now to Bill from Wingcopter.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Hey, it's great to have all of you guys with us today. I'm very proud to introduce you to our company. We're one of the most innovative, technology-driven companies in the world. We've won many awards and many accolades for our work. What we do is we design, manufacture, and operate electric vertical takeoff and landing, fixed wing unmanned aircraft systems that operate autonomously and beyond visual line of sight. Our vision is to create efficient and sustainable drone solutions. And this is really key to improve and save lives. I can't overemphasize that particular end of the sentence, because everything we do, every project we take on goes through that filter. Are we improving? Are we saving lives? And are we having a legitimate impact using UAS? So that's what we do. We're about a 5-year-old company. We have patented technology in the tilt rotor system that makes us unique in the drone industry. We are a recent new technology pioneer selection by the World Economic Forum. We just announced a brand new drone, our new 198, which is, we think, a game changer in the drone industry. We are a young company, but we're growing very fast, about 135 employees, 62 plus engineers, and we are hiring constantly. We're constantly looking for people all over the world for key positions in the company. So we operate BVLOS in 11 countries on 5 continents. We have a brand new production site in Weiterstad, right outside of Darmstadt, which is just south of Frankfurt. We've raised about 20 million capital to date, and we are working on our Series B round of capital right now. So it's great to be a part of this panel. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Nice to have you. And Michel.
All right, welcome everybody. Also from my side, as Erin already mentioned at the beginning, at Lufthansa Systems, we supported the traditional or classic aviation industry with our IT and data solutions since quite a long time. And I'm fully aware that the emerging eVTOL industry might have quite different requirements and needs, and probably also on purpose wants to do some things different than traditional aviation. And I believe in some areas there are very good reasons to do so. But on the other hand, I also think we will be talking a bit about social acceptance and how close we are with some of the air mobility visions to reality. And safety is also going to be a key aspect for the advanced air mobility world. And this is where I believe AMM can also profit quite a lot from established aviation industry players such as Lufthansa Systems. Because with our widely accepted and certified products, like, for example, our navigation databases or the high-resolution terrain models, I'm fully convinced that we can also support AAM, even though it's, of course, just one very small piece of the puzzle. And as I see the cargo transport by eVTOL, as probably one of the most advanced and most promising areas of advanced air mobility. That's also why I'm very much looking forward to the discussions with you guys today. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. So I'm very, very happy to start, and I'm going to start now. Open up the room again for questions. As I mentioned before, if you have questions, stick them in, and otherwise I'm just going to start firing away. All right, let's see. I'm gonna ask Bill the first question. You mentioned the most important thing is to impact people's lives, impact people's health, and to save lives. I wanted to ask you how that vision and driving force came about, and if this is going to turn into a viable business model, and how you can see that emerging over the next years.
Yeah, sure. So from the very initial concept of the company that began with our two founders, we had in mind to save and improve lives. We had in mind to have an impact. And so we started, like some other drone companies as well, in Africa, doing humanitarian projects, perfecting operations and learning more and more about how to carry hazardous materials and vaccines and blood and so forth and so on. So we see that expanding globally right now. The demand for this kind of a service, drone delivery of medical supplies and other critical supplies, not just medical, but things that are critical to be delivered over a long period of distance or at high speed, is something that we're seeing from Brazil to Asia to North America to just about every corner of the world. So the opportunities and the impact that we believe that we can have and is almost limitless at this point.
Okay. I wanted to kind of tie this in together, because when I look at the panel of speakers that we have here, I just want to set it up for the audience of what I'm thinking. We have EHang operating in China and coming out of this data-based and software-based climate. We have Schenker now, who has relationships. You have a board member who I wrote the name, it's Jochen Toos. You have a board member sitting on Volocopter's board. You're invested in Volocopter. Andreas, you have lots of different types of IT companies investing as well, different investors as well. Bill as well, Zipline. You guys are all focusing on different aspects, but you have tons of different business models, and you're trying to connect not only the end user, but you're trying to connect the backgrounds of logistics and make a complete new logistics network, a B2B network. If I look at especially Zipline and Wingcopter here, you have this experience of starting up in African countries as a humanitarian, but also has there been a different ease of entry into some of these countries because of the necessity or because of the lower complexity, and how does this enable you and teach you as opposed to in other countries? Is there a difference here? I want to kind of explore the dynamic between operating in Africa and in China, and in we have experience on the panel here in Europe and in the US. What does this look like in different countries, and how are you learning from every region?
I'd say I can jump in first if that's good. Yeah. I'd say there's a couple of aspects to that answer. Number one is regulatory, and I think that's probably one of the biggest both constraints and opportunities in the market right now, as to how do we partner with the right regulatory agencies in different countries. And there are different countries, different agencies as to where they are on the policy and regulatory scale and openness to work with new customers. I think the second thing I wanted to touch on that's pretty interesting is we often hear, did you guys go into Africa because it's easier to operate, or is that an open door more than other continents? Rwanda has actually got one of the most diverse weather systems in the world. And so for us, looking at an early testing market as to where could we really prove the technology, we found that Rwanda was one of the best early countries to really prove everything from mountains, wind, rain, heat, cold, elevation. And so we really looked at it more as where can we start that enables us a leg up in other markets to say, you're coming at us with different weather systems, with different challenges. We've already met that in our #1 market where we're operating nationwide.
Yep, and I would echo that, Kim. The conditions in some of these countries are what caused us to develop a drone, for example, that's completely waterproof, that can fly in very high winds, in very difficult conditions. But to add one third element, and that is the fact that the airspace is not as crowded in most of those countries. So you may be aware that US, for example, is the most crowded airspace in the world, and Europe is probably a close second. But in a lot of those countries, we have the ability to, even though regulations aren't maybe any easier in some places, but it is clearly easier to fly in their sky.
Yeah, maybe just also adding here from the logistics part, because Erin, as you said, so we have a very strong relationship here with Wingcopter. When we invested into that company, we really take that extremely seriously, and we also try to find out, let's say, the sweet spots and where can we fly the first with such a technology. And even only in our company, we found more than 250 different use cases. But absolutely, what Kim and also Bill said, legislation, the weather conditions is the most topics that we have to look at. And but the interesting part is that at the moment, I think everybody and every country understood there is something coming, and we somehow has to prepare. And at the moment, what we are seeing, there's a kind of a race at the moment, and every country want to be maybe the first who's really setting up a clear structure, a legal setup to really make that happen. We have, when it comes to logistic, and we are in 130 countries globally. Scandinavia, by the way, is quite pushing that topic because many islands, but there the weather conditions are quite hard. When it comes to the Asian region, of course, somehow better. There we have to think about a heavy rain topic. So what Bill said, a drone who's able to fly within rain would be fantastic. And of course, technology is coming better and the use cases are getting more when the legal setup is there. Then the drones are able to fly longer and carrying more weight. So then the use cases are coming. That the whole logistic will be done by tomorrow by drones, I don't see that. But as an, let's say, integrated part into supply chains, that's exactly the way. And then let's see which country might be first.
Yep, agreed. Totally agree.
Kim, you mentioned at one point that you were absolutely convinced that this has to be a globally changing momentum, and that we focused at the beginning too much on the drones and not enough on the impact of the drones. What do you think needs to be done by this global community now in order to shift the focus away from risk and potential pitfalls and of drones flying over airspace that we don't want them to, or things like that, into the actual value that the drones are going to bring and the impact that we're going to see in our lives?
We're already seeing a lot of this, I think, across partners right now, as to going into a country and setting up a drone system isn't just about the technology. It's about how do you educate the community, set up community programs as to what does it mean to have some technology flying overhead? How does that change where you're seeing your medicines come from? How does that change how you're thinking about supply and demand? I think one of the interesting things about joining this industry recently is from the outside, there's this impression of the technology is everything. When you're in the industry, you realize that there's this very strong partnership between regulatory policy, community education, marketing, panels like this, where we're able to get out more of this is very real, this is happening now. And we're happy to talk about what does risk mean, what is the safety elements. But I think a large part of this is just more communication across different countries as to how this is happening right now. It's not a science fiction project in 5 years. It is transforming a number of countries right now.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can jump in, just having a follow-up question. So two of you are kind of specializing at transporting medical goods. Do you think that helps anything in social acceptance, that you transport something that is here to save lives?
Absolutely.
For us, for sure. That is everything. Absolutely, one of our main drivers is that it has an impact, not only a financial impact to solve a problem that might be financially motivated, but also the extra benefit that you're impacting lives, and in some cases you're saving lives. So we love that aspect about what we're doing.
I'd say too, when you think of medical systems and you think of the cold chain needs for something like COVID vaccines, right? And how stringent the requirements are to make sure that you're getting them out within a window, that you're getting them out with a supply and a chain of access and who had them at what time. There's a building of trust when you can say, hey, we're supplying and transforming your medical logistics, and we can give you confidence in everything from the storage, the transport, the delivery, how reliable your vaccines or supplies are at the end. And I think that ability as to how hard and stringent and important the medical system is seen from sort of beyond is part of building that trust that this is a really central part of your logistics system.
I see Erik.
This is something we can see throughout each consumer acceptance study globally, no matter in which area it's conducted, that the medical use cases are absolutely leading here, but they're not the only ones. And I think what is really important to be aware of is that all the preconditions and the environments we see globally are totally different. Different regions need different use cases. And for example, when you have a not very densely populated area with a little or low developed infrastructure, I'm pretty sure that medical drone delivery will be a very good solution. If you take a Central European developed city, for example, where the Red Cross is reaching every area within 8 minutes or less, the question is a drone even compatible here? So it totally depends on the individual region we're speaking about. What is super exciting for me though is that the whole global urban air mobility movement, unless or despite these different preconditions and environments, is having the same driver. We're all aiming to use the airspace and make it available for fantastic use cases which improve the daily lives of people, which make aviation safer, which make aviation greener, and which give us back the most valuable currency of our time, of our age, which is time, because we save time at the end of the day.
Additionally to saving time, though, I want to keep talking to you, Andreas, because we have the ecological aspect of drones being clean and bringing a fresh wind into the air, into the aviation industry. We have currently, it seems like half of the vacation destinations that we would have wanted to visit this summer are underwater and the other half are on fire right now. This is most likely contributed to global warming. It is a debate, either it is or it isn't, but this is definitely starting to really be on people's minds. Based on this fact, with your use cases for firefighting drones, I'm wondering if there is an increase of discussion with you from regulator or from governments, if there's an increase of customer base on the firefighting drone aspect that you have, or those type of vehicles. Are they ringing up your phones and asking you for when can we get 100 out of the production line? And is this already starting, or are they a little bit cautious or late?
No, absolutely. Especially now, domestic market in China, we can see a huge interest in this solution. And the 216F, the 216 is the model which you saw before in the video. This is a very good example for the platform approach we're having. You know, there is like a hardware platform and there's a software platform behind that, and we can individualize it for different use cases, going from passenger transport to logistics, but also to firefighting solutions. And especially, as mentioned in our domestic market, there is a huge interest we can see. Because firefighters do not just have the problem of more and more fires due to global warming, but also due to city development. Cities are not going, let's say, are not developed on the ground, but are more and more developed into heights. with skyscrapers going larger, and how can you fight fires there? And here drone solutions can be a very, let's say, good asset to solve this issue in a better way moving forward. But I fully agree. I mean, the sustainability aspect is one of the most important drivers we're having, and all our solutions are based on electrical engines. According to my knowledge, more than 90% of the industry who is going into drone technologies is based on electrical engines, and not any longer on carbon fuels. And this is definitely the future. I mean, in our case, it's easier to implement this let's say, electrical engine solutions compared to classical aviation and very large aircraft, where still we have to find the right alternatives.
And I think that electric engines are still not where we expect them to be in the future. If this keeps developing and electric engines keep getting stronger and having a further reach and things like that, what are then the other use cases which are the juiciest ones that you're interested in going after? I'll ask you, you three who are operators, what are the things that if you had kind of unlimited distance, what you would go after next?
Maybe coming here from the logistics part, maybe the main driver, also as Andreas said, really is at the moment really the sustainability aspect, because flying into the urban environment, into the cities, it's already a big use case, because we see all over Europe, for example, 20-25 cities who will close their doors completely for diesel engines. So somehow we have to think about alternatives to bring the shipments, the goods, all the topics into the urban environment. The e-commerce is booming, last mile is going totally crazy at the moment. So therefore, we need different operational possibilities. And at the moment, all of the logistic companies jumping on cargo bikes and bringing really with these heavy driven bikes to up to 400 or 500 kilograms now on the bike into the city centers. That's one aspect. But this middle mile topic, really flying from outside the city into the city, is dramatically interesting. And again, the sustainability aspect here, flying with electric powered topics, is amazing, cool. When the weight and the distances are going further, then of course we can think about a hub to hub, so flying from one branch or from one logistics center to another one. That's another great case. Of course, at the moment we are all concentrating on flying above unmanned areas, so to islands on the mountains, in cities or areas where we have, let's say, the legal setup already in place. But in the end, it's all about weight, legal setup, and then the distance. And then many use cases are coming more, because at the moment and on the ground, let's say all the roads, we have a lot of traffic jams in many areas. We need alternatives, and there are only two ways, up or down. So underground might be more complicated than in the air. There is still some space. So therefore, integrating them, that's always the main driver. And also what Bill had said here with healthcare topics, of course, that is one industry really also to show the society that topics like that make sense, and you don't be afraid about this. There's no need to be afraid about this technology, because it really saves lives, it helps, it brings topics further. And starting from there and then really jumping also to the other industry, high-tech, semicon, solar, retail, fashion. There are many industries who all have a pressure with speed and sustainability.
Yep, Erik, you're absolutely right. We talk about reachability. You know, how can we extend the logistics reach? And there's a lot of different barriers. Some of them are congestion in cities, for example, which is equally as difficult as urban areas where distance is the reachability issue. And it's just not just medical. I mean, we talk a lot about medical because it's exciting, but there are a lot of critical deliverable goods that time is a factor. I was on a phone with the CEO of a jet charter company yesterday, and he was lamenting about all of the very small, under 10-pound cargoes that he literally flies with a full-size jet at about $3,000 an hour of expense. Helicopters are $1,500 an hour for operating, and a lot of them are carrying things that are small enough easily for a drone to carry. So anything that's critical, time sensitive, temperature sensitive, speed is important. These are huge opportunities across many industries for us.
One of the interesting use cases that we also found out was one island in France, and I think there are several islands in France, where per law there is a definition that every day they need their new newspaper, so really the newspaper in paper printed version, and that there's a helicopter flying every day to this island transporting the newspaper. So okay, that could be really reduced, or let's say replaced by different technologies.
One of the common themes we're seeing, Erin, and I think it's coming through how people are speaking today, is that this idea of there's a lot of focus on what area of the country you're in, what can you actually access or what can't you access, or how long does it take to access. And I think we've seen in the past, there are practicalities of being in urban or rural that limit what you can get. And what's exciting when we're talking about automated delivery, whether that's drone or e-copters on the ground, is that you're starting to look at a future where maybe these practicalities aren't restraining or constraining where people live as much, and your resources aren't as restricted to certain areas or certain times, especially if we can see, 5-10 years down the future where we're really looking at a really strong long distance drone delivery. And I think there's this very interesting long-term impact of what does this actually mean for urban and rural divide, and where people feel comfortable living and what they have access to. This whole where people live shouldn't dictate how they live. And I think that's a really interesting part of what we're doing right now.
Absolutely, the democratization of delivery.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said something before, Kim, that I wanted to touch on again. And you said that you have reduced the waste of medical products by so much, and you're in a low population area doing that work in Ghana, you said, and you said for a low population area, you said something like 30% waste reduction. And I'm imagining if you put this business model onto a high population area like a city, and you put all of these necessary products into a temperature controlled warehouse and you ship them out on demand, then you reduce the cost and the waste of having all of these things being available locally, and actually increase the feasibility of having access to them. And I assume that this is also going to be a massive revolution in terms of logistics going forward.
Absolutely. I think one of the comments in leading up to this panel, right, was this question of unit costs and comparing ground delivery to air delivery. And what we're really seeing is that the way we should be thinking about the value and the cost and the pricing is that end-to-end logistics. Where are you making those savings in other parts of your business? So where in your current supply chain production have you baked in assumptions that deliveries are going to take hours or days? Or where are you bearing costs in your storage facilities of having to batch and store and do massive supply versus have demand driven? And I think this is part of the evolving conversation. As I expect over the next couple of years, it's going to be less about what is the one-to-one unit cost and what is the overall system savings, and how do we do anything from impact reports, how do we look at how we change the overall both private and public system. So yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, and it's interesting. I suspect we're going to see a lot of language start changing as well in the public sphere over the next couple of years as to how do we account for not just the cost, but the value.
Yep, and I agree completely. We are doing the same thing in Malawi that Zipline's doing in Ghana, and building out that entire countrywide network that provides that kind of access. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for opportunities here.
Absolutely, and I think that another potential we have to look at, what is also related to the cost per shipment aspect Kim was mentioning, is the opportunity and the possibilities to automize processes up in the air. And I think this is going much faster than we reach the level of autonomy on the ground, where you have trucks or whatever driving fully autonomously without people from A to B, whereas in the air it's much easier to automatize logistic process, and therefore you can also reduce the costs overall.
What does the logistics distribution delivery look like in China at the moment? Can you give us a little glimpse into that area and what's happening in that region? I think we're all curious to know, the ones who have not been there in a while.
Absolutely. Well, it's not that in China everything is possible, what's not possible around the world so far. So even in China, we are elaborating a lot of, let's say, different use cases in the past, but even today. What we definitely found out is that the whole reporting about package and parcel delivery as a B2C product, as a B2C solution, at least in populated areas, it's something different when we speak about not very densely populated areas, that this is definitely not the primary use case. It's more logistics overall is more a B2B solution. It's going for the middle mile, as Erik also was mentioning. And these are basically the areas where we are operating in and where we are rolling out our commercial solutions. For example, in the framework of our partnership with the Chinese DHL joint venture, DHL Sinotrans. What is also super important or very interesting is the possibilities for harbors. I think, you know, when you think about harbors and the shore to sea transport systems, there is a huge potential. It even can go that far in the future that you don't need harbors anymore, and you just have ships going by the shore and heavy cargo drones transporting the stuff directly where it has to go without having the truck in between. I mean, this is a future scenario and definitely not in sight in the next years, but this is where it's heading to. And in that area, we are elaborating and operating the opportunities right now.
This is a very cool vision.
Yeah, it's a really big opportunity, for sure. And I agree with you 100%, Andreas.
The same here, so I also fully agree. But I think before we are flying containers from the ship to somewhere, it takes some time. I think some years to come. But let's say 5 years backwards, who would have thought that the technology is already on the level where we are at the moment? So the technology is developing extremely fast. The weights are getting better. The distances are more interesting. And as you said, Andreas, so this shore to ship or also offshore topics these are topics, even agriculture. So not our business, but agriculture topics are extremely interesting for drone topics. And if you have a heavy lifted cargo drone who can bring up a lot of kilogram and maybe tons in the future, then it's also kind of a mobile crane. And then also construction sites might be quite curious by using drones for different purposes where we're not imagining at the moment.
Yeah, and Erik, you were mentioning the speed actually of the development in the drone industry, and this is just something where we have been talking a lot about the advantages and the possibilities in the drone industry, but I also see how this industry can move forward to the traditional and classical aviation industry, which usually moves very slowly. And probably if you come in this environment as a startup and at the first moment, you're probably a bit shocked how slowly things go. But I'm quite convinced that this advanced air mobility concept can also change quite a lot in the classic aviation. If I think about the rulemaking groups and all these regulations that are moving quite fast, especially if you compare how they used to go. Also thinking about how this industry is driving the digitalization in the traditional aviation. So if you think about the voice-based traditional ATC versus the more digital UTM, or also making use of AI and machine learning in navigation and other aeronautical systems. So I think this is really also quite a big opportunity for the traditional aviation. And you can even think about use cases. You have all these tons of sensors on your drones, like LiDAR sensors. And why not collecting the data from these LiDAR sensors, the elevation data, and incorporate them into your terrain database that's then used in a commercial airliner's enhanced ground proximity warning system. So I see also that the advanced air mobility industry is pushing classical industry forward quite a lot.
Absolutely. And of course, new business models are popping up there. We are generating them all when we are flying new sets of data that could be monetized maybe in the future. And the most interesting part for me is always this vertical takeoff and landing part, because there you need not that much space. You can maybe really start from a roof, from your yard, from your branch. And that's the really interesting part, because that space, maybe 20 to 20 meters of space requirement in the future, already somehow existing. So therefore, we don't have to bring a new airport somewhere, or using the existing airports and flying really from there in a niche of the landing zone or starting zone. So there are different opportunities, and I fully agree to you, Michael. Topics are coming up.
I mean, you know, if we imagine a world where drone technologies wouldn't exist, the funny thing is that in aviation, we would still have the same bottlenecks and the same topics we discuss. Autonomous level of autonomy in aircraft, going from 2 pilots to 1 pilot, and then maybe fully autonomous. The question of digitalization, air traffic management, and also the question of sustainability. So I fully agree here with you, Michael, that maybe our industry can help here in pushing things in the right direction and reach change faster. And at the end of the day, we also have to question ourselves, how much is urban air mobility or advanced urban air mobility, however you want to call it, how much is it really aviation? What's the common denominator beside the aspect that it's flying around? Is it maybe even more ground transport or more public transport? So I think it's a mix of a lot of things, and we have to change our approach here. We as an aviation industry, but also regulation authorities. And I don't speak about compromising on safety, but I speak about the balance of pragmatism versus security and safety, because having a drone with 2 or 4 people or having a drone with cargo is not the same like having an Airbus A320 with several dozen tons, you know.
Wow, you need to convince the regulators of that point. So if you can get them to agree to that, then we're all going to move a lot quicker.
Okay, I'm going to interject right now because I want to make the viewers happy, because we have tons and tons of questions that have been coming in while you guys have been happily talking away passionately about your industry. And I'm going to take one now from Kurt. How important is increased endurance for drones used in commercial BVLOS application? And if it's valued, do you see fuel cells which can increase endurance by 2 to 3% over batteries having increased adoption? So I know that you all have, at least 3 of you have a very strong experience or opinion about fuel cells. Do you guys want to take that question, the 3 of you? Andreas, Kevin, Bill, obviously.
Sure. So we look at all powertrain possibilities, and we have to weigh the safety and the reliability of all of those. You know, we're dealing with aircraft that have to have very, very efficient flight characteristics. There is no waste at all. And so that ratio of power to airfoil size to, you know, to cargo capability is really critical and is a very fine art. Germans are famous for engineering, and our guys spend a lot of time working on this. So we are, for the short term at least, going to be staying with the electric power and looking for that electric power to give us increased capabilities. I don't see us going to fuel cell anytime in the near future, but we're always open and looking at the different powertrains.
Yeah, same here. We're also elaborating different technologies here, but at the end of the day, I think that in the near future, the electrical engines are the solution to go for. I mean, the bottleneck I don't even see here in the propulsion technology of the vehicle, but in the infrastructure of how you provide let's say the energy. And relying on an energy network, which is right now developed for electrical cars. I think this is something we can leverage on in urban air as well on the long term. If you have, of course, technologies which are not electric engines, but also use electricity, basically, then that's also something what is very interesting, generally speaking.
Okay, thanks.
I'd say similar for us, and I just wanted to add to, I think both Michael and Andreas have been touching on the fact that what's going to push us forward as an industry and figure out those new power sources is very much this collaborative across industry, across different companies, private and public, working together. And so knowing that there is so many advances also happening in fuel and battery and energy while we're focusing on drone technologies and logistics, I think it's an exciting time to be out in the field and seeing so many different startups come up with new revolutions of how to look at this.
Yeah. Great. I'm going to go to the next one from the audience from Stuart Taylor, and I'm going to give it to you, Michelle. So UAS provides a great opportunity to equip with meteorological instrumentation to record wind, temperature, humidity, as well as atmospheric science parameters. These would provide valuable information in data-sparse regions. Is this something that that you are dealing with and something that that is increasing exponentially at the moment?
No, I think this is really one of the great use cases I was mentioning before, where also other industries can benefit quite a lot from drones, because you have all those little sensors out there collecting a lot of live data, and that would be a great advantage actually to make further use out of that. It's something where I would say we would strongly support and are also evaluating the possibilities a bit at the moment. But this is also where I think we've been talking before. You need a lot of collaborations also among the industry, and there we are also, I would say, very open and looking for partnerships to support such models to provide up-to-date data to all participants of in the airspace, but maybe even non-aviation related users would benefit quite a lot from this data, like meteorological institutes and so forth.
I'd say an important part of that is also making sure that education campaign and making very clear to people who are having these drones overhead as to what data is being collected, how is it being used, where is it going, and having transparency in that overall process is incredibly important to build trust in the industry.
Yes, I think if we look at an UAM ecosystem as a kind of software, which is quite related to each other, because we need to think as the UAM ecosystem with different APIs and where you have the connectors and so on. The tricky thing here is, since there is no global standard, but the whole world is rushing towards a direction, we as an industry, together with regulators, but also partners from the ecosystem, we need to sit together and develop global standards. Otherwise, we will get nowhere. And here I see one of the big bottlenecks today that the industry has to exchange much more on a global scale.
I have another question from the audience, and I am going to gamify it. What are the top 10 use cases for drone deliveries apart from medical? So there's 5 of you. The way we're going to do this, I'm going to go through the screen and you're going to say one each. Okay, so get ready. It's going to be a fast game. Andreas.
Passenger transport.
Erik.
Middle mile concepts.
Kim.
Agriculture.
Michi.
That was just mine. Think about, I don't know, Christmas presents.
Very good. Bill.
Yeah, so anything that needs to be done quickly and avoid congestion and take advantage of distance in anything. Critical delivery is in time and distance is the key. It doesn't matter the product.
Okay, I'm going to say Girl Guide cookies for you, which I heard has been happening in the US in the past during COVID. Andreas.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
We're going around again. We're going around. We have to do 10. The audience asked for 10 use cases. 10 use cases. Go.
Entertainment. Aerial media shows and replacing fireworks. We make several millions or 2-digit million number with that revenue in China already. So that's a huge global potential.
I've seen your entertainment. It's fantastic. Erik.
Disaster support. So when we have, let's say, really destroyed areas and then there are no roads existing, really bringing goods and all the things for Red Cross and the DHV directly to these areas.
Yeah,
so
very good. Kim.
Logistics replacement. So oil rigs, shipping. How do you make sure that someone's not bringing a boat back to shore and losing thousands, millions in costs over the year?
Yes. Michi.
Well, all kinds of things you need in search and rescue operations.
Bill.
Yeah, critical tools like the wind farms that need tools delivered to them can be extremely costly. Again, critical components, and in this case, tools.
Yeah, and I think we forgot inspection as something which is already quite a good business case, which is already delivering real profits, I think, for the drone operators there, and saving a lot of money and probably saving lives as well, reducing the danger. Yeah.
When you think about it, just using a drone for inspection is a good thing, but also for inventory topics. So maybe we are flying also within the warehouse and really taking, let's say, pictures or scanning barcodes within the shelf. So that's a use case really in the building, within the warehouse. Yeah.
Oh yeah, good. Okay, great. We have from Jaap Hattenboer, shouldn't we follow the approach promoted by Adrian Lindgren of Hyundai Air Mobility that starts with creating value for the community, so working with city planners from day one? You touched on this already. How early does that have to start, and how crucial is that? Andreas.
It's happening, and it's super crucial, because it's not a question if UAM is here to scale mass market in 5 or 10 years, considering that at the end of the day, it's also an infrastructure topic, and infrastructure topics have anyway lead times of many years. So a municipality which is interested in implementing drone technology solutions for whatever area, for whatever use case, you need to start to deal with that today. And we are proactively approaching communities, but we also get approached by many cities and municipalities throughout the globe to develop things together. What we do lack is a catalog of standardization. This is something we're in development with, and here it would be fantastic to exchange our global experiences as an industry, because anyway we need to bake the cake together first before we can share the slices.
Yep, and there's a global movement for smart cities right now. So, for example, we've talked with the city of Dublin, and they're one of the leaders of the smart city movement. So these community leaders recognize the need to educate their communities and enroll their communities in the leverage of this kind of technology. So that movement has already begun.
Absolutely agree. So the discussion is already ongoing, and several cities all over the globe, starting in Germany, maybe with Hamburg or Paris, then Singapore, Dubai, Helsinki, Oslo, they are all interested, and even more, they started already to having conversations with companies like here in the panel, but also with companies like us, how to operate them, how to really make it happen. Because in the end, you have to bring something from A to B, and somebody has to do that. So cities are really rethinking their structure, people transport and shipment transport in parallel, because we are also using the same infrastructure. So therefore, that's then one big topic. And of course, it's really happening now and yesterday already.
Thank you. We have blown through all of our time. We have 3 minutes left. I'm going to go around the panel again and give you 20 seconds. Last thoughts, Andreas.
So the final remarks. Well, let me be very general. For a lot of people who are not in that industry, still it sounds a topic. But what we can see from a lot of surveys, and the latest one was published by EASA a couple of weeks ago, people want that. People see the potential. And at the end of the day, if you think about that, we live in times where people speak about colonizing Mars, implementing urban air doesn't sound that difficult anymore.
I agree. Erik.
I think it's the technology is ready for mass production, for mass usage. It's a sustainable topic. It's fast. It's a contactless delivery. So this autonomous flying is demanding, and but it's also demanded from the customer side, but also from the authorities. So it is coming, and I think we will see many interesting and really sustainable use cases in the next 5 years to come.
Fantastic. Kim?
I'd say what's really come through in this panel today is that instant logistics and drone delivery is going to have a much wider implication than just switching out ground delivery for air delivery. And so I'd love for people to take away from this is that we're not trying to beat traditional delivery at its game. We're providing an alternative that has huge structural implications. And I think it's a really exciting time to be with other companies and organizations like this, where we're really looking at a very innovative time in history.
I agree.
Absolutely. Michael.
Yeah, I would say advanced air mobility is really here to stay, but I think the safety aspect is going to be crucial, and we need to pay a lot of attention to that and make sure we don't get any reputation issue in that area.
Okay, great. And Bill?
Yeah, we at Wingcopter believe that 2022 is the really breakout year. We're seeing so much movement around the world, so much interest, so much demand for a variety of business use cases, places that we can save and impact lives. And I would invite everyone in the audience to check out the Wingcopter website, wingcopter.com. Come see what we're doing, see the videos, and yeah, join us.
Very good. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to tell the audience that all of the questions that we have, and there's 21 questions that still haven't been answered, and I'm sorry about that. We had a summer talk, which was only one hour this time. So we will answer those in writing on LinkedIn, and I will send all of them to you, or we will send all of them to you, to the speakers to answer. We have 3 events planned coming up: customer experience and acceptance on the ground and for passengers. We have the commercial aspects, which we haven't dug into in any depth yet, and we have the topic which has been on the lips of all of the panelists today repeatedly, sustainability. So check those out. The recording for this event will be made available in the next days, so have a look at that on our website or on LinkedIn or YouTube. And I wanted to say a very great big thank you to all of our panelists today. You did a fantastic job, and I will be rewatching this to see again all of the details of what you were talking about. But thank you for coming with so much information and so much passion. We are very excited for the future with you guys.
Thanks, Erin and Lufthansa.
Thanks
Thank you
again.
so much.